I have been so hesitant to post about this for two reasons. Number one, I don't like negativity and I don't want to be like the bearer of bad news. Number two, I didn't want to believe it. But after doing so much research and getting a lot of messages, I'm going to just deliver the unvarnished truth to you guys. I'm just going to lay it out straight. We're in a dating crisis. Not basically, we are. That's what's happening. So let me look at my research here because I don't want to mess it up. So men looking for casual dates and our relationships is down 50%, 50, since 2019. Not since 1970, since 2019, right before the pandemic, down 50%. They're not looking, which means if you're a woman looking, they don't fucking shit. So as this trend continues, by 2040, 45% of women, 45% of women between the ages of 20 and 45 will be single and childless based on this trend. Let that sink in for a moment.
Hey y'all, welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Lumi, and today we're going to be looking at some more dating crisis TikToks. So for this first one, she's kind of, going off of the data here, and I want to believe that it's not going to be like this forever. And sometimes if you use data to prove a point, like sometimes it gets misconstrued a little bit, or especially with like trends, like no one can really predict the future, okay? And another thing is, this is coming off of the heels of, a major world crisis, right? I mean, the 2020 or 2019 COVID pandemic, I'm sorry, 2020 pandemic. I was thinking COVID-19, 2019, but sorry, I'm dumb. But yeah, this is coming off of the heels of that, where everyone was forced inside, and like people, I'm a big believer that, I've noticed this in myself. Like, I feel like because of the pandemic and being forced to isolate, and then kind of staying isolated because, like, well, I got a full-time remote job, and I didn't have to go out and interact with people. I didn't have to go into an office. Yes, I still, communicated over the phone and through text and stuff like that, but it's not the same as like a face-to-face human interaction, because people forget that communication is like only like 30% language, and then the rest is I would say like body language and like facial expressions. Like there's a lot of nonverbal communication that people forget about. But back to this video. Yeah, she's like going off of the trends, and I personally don't believe that by like 2040 everyone's gonna be single and like not having kids. I could see maybe not having the kids part due to financial reasons, which is a completely different thing. But I think people still want relationships. Despite what you hear on social media about like how men are done dating and women are over like all the games and like the stuff men are putting them through, like people still want to get together and people still want to like make love and stuff like that. Like that is such a strong force that you have no idea. Like it will, I mean, it has weathered the test of time. I mean, if it hasn't, then we wouldn't be here, So I say we need to have a little more faith in I guess our drive for one another.
This whole men and women's dating crisis is really just the most thorough miscommunication I think I've ever seen. And yes, I will elaborate. Most of our lives, men have heard that expressing interest in women basically is harassment unless we already know they're interested. So approaching someone we don't know or asking somebody out we're just getting to know, completely out of the question. But for basically all of living memory, this is how relationships started, with men approaching, expressing interest in, or asking out women. So by not doing this, a huge portion of men are functionally just opting out of dating. So who does this leave? Men who don't care if they're bothering someone, and the very few men who are attractive enough in some way that they get approached. Now, there is a third category here, but it's very small, and we'll have to get to it in a minute. So as the pool of available men shrinks, the scarcity of them allows for a lot more bad behavior. And I'm just going to get ahead of this. This is not women's fault. Attraction is not negotiable, and, any port in a storm. But anyway, as more women have and share these bad experiences, two beliefs start to emerge. For women, the belief that men are just bad. And for men, the belief that women are attracted to bad men. Now, neither of these are true, but you can see how we got here. And I would say this was actually pretty predictable, because once we as a society started actually listening to women, they had a lot to say. There have been a lot of ways that they've been wronged or harmed that no one was listening to. And it is really important that people are aware of them. Since it's not reasonable to expect somebody talking about something so difficult to be perfectly precise with their language, there was a lot of overstatement. I have actually heard women I know say that approaching a woman in any way is harassment. More than once. Not to mention the thousands of times I've seen similar takes online. Now, the women saying this and the women hearing it understand the nuance. They know that this isn't necessarily true as it's said. But the men, especially the ones who are more sensitive to how they make people feel and looking to women for guidance on what to do, don't. They hear, leave us alone. So they are, which means the only information they get on how to be attractive or successful in dating is either don't, or comes from men who are low in empathy or accidentally attractive. And this is how we get stupid things like the red pill and looks maxing. But this is one of those correlation, not causation things. Because that third group of men I mentioned earlier, the ones who have empathy and aren't model pretty but still have great dating lives, understand what actually matters. Expressing interest, asking someone out, is not the problem, and it never was. The problem was creating obligation. And this is the common theme among the horror stories that women have told. They're not simply of men asking them out, they're of men who express interest in a way that makes them feel unsafe or obligated to go along with it. Even when the headline or the conclusion they say is never approach women, if you listen to the story, it is all about the obligation. The men in them didn't consider or care about how to adjust their approach in such a way that controls for that problem. And it's honestly not even that difficult, usually just a few things to consider, but it is really effective. You would be astonished at how direct and forward you can be as long as you make the other person feel safe. Now, it's tempting to try to blame someone for this, especially when it's created such severe problems in my life. But I firmly believe that has only made this whole thing worse. And the truth is, we were thrown into a really difficult situation. The world changed so much so fast, and the people we would normally go to for guidance had no idea about the problems we were facing. Now, I wanted to say more about looks and the misconceptions and what makes men attractive, but I think this is long enough as it is. If anyone's interested, let me know. I'll make that video. All that said, this is a very solvable problem. I hate one-line answers, but if you want one, put yourself out there, but lead with empathy.
Wow, this guy is very smart. And he's got such a cool aura about him. He's very majestic with the beard and the long hair. He reminds me of a majestic lion with his mane blowing in the wind. But no, he's got some excellent points. I think I'm a big believer that looks really don't matter. For men, I mean, it really just comes down to personality. Usually guys, I've noticed a lot of guys who carry themselves with I don't give a with an I don't care mindset or attitude. They're usually the ones that women gravitate towards. At least at this stage of my life, around this age. Maybe as I get older, and people are looking more to to marry. I guess maybe that might go out the window. But when you're younger, the not giving a damn about anything attitude goes a long way. And it kind of just screams you have confidence in yourself and how you go about your day, how you carry yourself. Because really not caring kind of signals that you're very secure in who you are as a person, and you don't need the validation, the external approval of others which women find attractive.
Why do you think it is that people are so comfortable constantly being comfortable and they can't put themselves in a position of voluntary suffering?
Because you don't need to. How do people get fat? Like one day at a time, where they eat 200 calories or 1,000 calories more than they expended over and over and over again over a very, very long period of time. There's no reason to put yourself through suffering. We can go from an air-conditioned house to a heated seat car. We can Uber Eats ourselves a well-cooked meal while we watch Netflix on the TV that we Amazon primed to ourselves. So many of the rough edges of life have been eroded. People have built buildings inside of which there are heavy things that you pay to have access to so that you can go in and lift these heavy things up and then put them down in the same place. And it's called a gym. We've had to artificially create discomfort in our own lives because it's been completely eroded from our normal existence. There's a difference between what you want and what is good for you. And what people want is often immediate comfort, and what is good for you is some degree of resilience training. Things that are good for you typically have pain immediately and pleasure in the long run.
This is absolutely true. I think today we live in a society where like everything is like, at least if you live in America, everything is like basically at your fingertips, and it's usually just like a button press away. Like if you consider the phone and the apps and stuff, like, I mean, case in point with dating, it's like you want to meet new people, just download a dating app. You want food brought to you, download like a meal delivery app. Like, you know, like it's all there, and most things can just be brought to you to your doorstep. It's like crazy convenient the times we live in today. And so I think when people are faced with adversity, it's almost like the reaction is even more intense, because adversity and like, you know, things like that, it's uncomfortable, right? It's inherently uncomfortable. But it's these things that make us, that mold us into better people, right? Usually. But now it's like, well, because we live in such a comfortable, we all have such comfortable lives, any form of adversity is like, it's extreme, you know, like we're almost like too sensitive to it. And so we try to like protect ourselves from it at all costs, because we don't like these feelings. And I think that plays into a lot of aspects of our lives, like especially with dating, and you know, and in many other aspects. I don't know. It's we just have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like for me personally, I struggle with speaking, right? Because I never really had. Well, I grew up in a house full of women, so I never really had the opportunity to speak up. I was usually just listening most of the time, and I only realized later in life that, like, damn, I'm kind of like socially stunted in that regard because I don't know how to speak my mind. And it wasn't until I got I got active in like my working life, you know, like with my career and stuff, that I really started to feel confident in my social skills. And when I lost my job, I was like, dang, I kind of want to keep this up, you know? And that's why I wanted to start this YouTube channel, is because I could feel myself kind of eroding away socially, and I wanted to keep honing those skills, right? Because speaking and being social, I mean, I consider this talking publicly, like public speaking, that's a skill. And if you don't continue practicing that skill, it's just going to get worse over time. You know, so yeah, I feel like now when I look back at my first video, I started this channel like a month ago, and I've already feel like I've improved so much in my speaking abilities and being able to just give you guys my stream of consciousness. It's improved a lot. Like, you can go watch my first video. I feel like I was stumbling over my words a little bit more, and I don't know, my sentences weren't as coherent. But yeah, I just want to keep going with this, and again, like he said in the clip right there, we just have to keep pushing ourselves and putting ourselves in uncomfortable situations so we can become better people, essentially. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's video. It's going to be it for me. Leave me a like if you liked it, dislike it if you dislike it, leave me a comment, let me know what you think, or if there's anything you want me to cover next, and consider subscribing if you enjoy this sort of thing. But anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.